All right, here we go. All right, go ahead and go.
Hello, this is Oscar.
And this is Kaya Frazier. And let's do it again.
You know what? We always do this anyway.
Yeah.
Let's have
It's
fun.
all good.
Right?
Just have fun.
All right. Hi, I'm Oscar Frazier,
And I'm Kaya Frazier.
and you're listening to the Jeff Smith Show on Vroom Vroom Beer.
Perfect. It's Vroom Vroom
that
Beer
right?
with Jeff Smith, but that's okay.
Let's try that again.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Hi, this is Oscar Frazier,
And this is Kaya Frazier.
and you're tuned in to the Vroom Vroom Beer Show with Jeff Smith.
Watch
Buckle
out.
up.
Buckle up.
Join our chit show, right?
Well done. Buckle up. Buckle up, Buttercup. All right, I'm going to hit
There you go.
stop. I'll be right back.
Uh,
Perfect.
Are you ready to thoughtfully steer away from your revved up, frenzied, and far too often scripted life? Then welcome to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith, where he guides you down the road differently traveled by sharing unique experiences with guests who have managed to shift away from a life stuck on cruise control and veered their way into a more authentic and fulfilling one in all sorts of interesting and kind of remarkable ways. Get ready to Vroom Vroom Veer with your differently traveled road chauffeur, Jeff Smith.
Francis Pappalardo, thank you so much for being on Vroom Vroom Veer and welcome to the show. How's it going?
It's going. Thanks for having me.
All right, it's going. That's a perfect answer for where you are in your life. So talk a little bit about what you're most excited about in life, your business. Your URL is customizeyour.life, which is pretty cool. I like that, the .life domain. So
Thank you.
yeah, whatever you want to say about that, go ahead and do that.
Oh yeah, our business is in a great place, and we're just so thankful for the momentum and the growth that we're seeing in it. Our business is essentially about helping people customize their life based upon their values, and so it goes much deeper than that. But that's the baseline to it.
Right.
And right now we're really experiencing that feeling. If you've ever gone surfing or you just sat and watched the waves in the ocean, right? And you see where it kind of recedes a little bit, it builds, and then it starts to crash. And so we've really felt that building, and we're starting to crash with that exponential growth and momentum.
Ooh, okay.
And it feels wonderful.
Feels like you're kind of leveling up and at this moment. Wow, yeah, nice.
Yes, absolutely. And it's quite contrary to what we're experiencing in our personal life.
Right.
We haven't necessarily personally been able to be the main drivers behind our business right now. My husband is currently overcoming cancer, and it's
Right.
been quite a journey over the past year.
Yeah. Scary.
So it's been
all the
really
emotions. all the feels. All the feels.
all of it. I'm wearing it like a robe, but it's just been such a testament to the team that we have, that we're working with, and how they've really just taken the helm and charged forward, and we're so proud of everybody.
Amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You know you're doing something right when you can leave and things don't go all shitty, right?
Yes. Yes, that's
That in and of itself could be a story all together by itself.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that to me is kind of like the key of the definition of success, right? When your business is bigger than you, when it outlasts you, when it doesn't need you, then you've done something right, because you've built people, and the people sustain the businesses. It's not the business that sustains the people.
Right. That's amazing. Well said. Yeah, that's what that reminds me of Ferris when he was all stressed out and decided to go to wherever some trip, like in Asia, right? And he assumed his business would be thoroughly wrecked. And then he came back and everything was amazing. Nobody knew you were gone, boss.
That's it.
Right.
That's it.
Right. Okay. So later on, not right away, we're going to talk about when you were, your daughter recently interrupted a podcast and how all sorts of hilarity ensued. And then on a sadder note, there was a story about when you were in 5th grade and you got invited to a dance and things didn't go the way you thought they would.
Yeah.
So, but those, okay, I'm looking forward to that because stories from 5th grade are few and far between. I'd have to think really hard about 5th grade for me to come up with a story. I don't remember 5th grade. Okay, so go ahead.
It was a memorable year for me, so we'll get into that in a little bit.
I think, yeah, I'm going to save my comments for when we talk about it. So that's good. That's like a double tease. All right. So talk a little bit about like you before 2008, because we all heard the story about, when your father died and that trauma and the grief and the loss and how that transformed you. But who were you before that? Any place on that. So I knew you went to college, you were going into the entertainment industry. So talk a little bit about you before 2008. I know that's a lot, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, well, I was like any other kid growing up that just wanted to have fun and, pursue their dreams. And, my family moved around a lot. My father was in the military.
Oh, wow.
I know you're Air Force or former Air Force. And thank you for your service. My father was a civilian Army. My brother was Air Force, both grandfathers in the Army. So we are a military family.
That's awesome.
And very, very, very appreciative for your service.
It's almost like you served too. If you were like a military kid,
yep,
it's like you were in, really.
Maybe not quite as difficult as what you had to do.
Right. I don't know.
Probably never did as many push-ups as you or face the things.
I was in the Air Force. Come on, we don't do push-ups. We ride the bike. No, they changed it. I'm sorry. That was just for fun. For a while there, we did just ride the bike. Really? Yeah. Our fit test was just this ergonomic. It was really very scientific, where they like measured your VO2 ox level or something. And then what happened was all Air Force people got really optimized at riding a stationary bike. That doesn't really make you fit for being on deployment. But you are really good at riding a stationary bike.
What happens when the bike's not there?
Correct. Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, I mean, I thought I was already fit before they made this bike test. Right. So then they make the bike test and I didn't do well on it. Right. And thankfully I was given a couple of practice tests because I was going to be the test monitor for the unit.
Yeah.
And I realized that I was like, why am I doing so poorly on this? I run all the time. I'm fit. I work out. What is it? And she's like, oh no, you have to ride the bike to do good on this test, because you have to build up your quads and your hams, right? Because if you don't ride a bike all the time, your body's going to freak out and your heart rate's going to go up. So she's like, just ride a stationary bike. In a couple of months, you'll pass this test with flying colors. And I'm like, that's stupid.
That's so interesting.
Right? It's
so interesting because it is a different muscle group for people that aren't used to riding bikes. You could be very fit and do well on a bike.
What happened was the Air Force had like some people drop dead because they were like, they could go and like do zero fitness all year, and then they would make them do an annual fit test and run 1.5 miles in a certain amount of time. So people would just like do nothing, show up and drop dead. Okay?
Like that fitness test.
On a fitness test. Yes. There was a certain percentage above zero of people taking their annual fitness test. So they're like, we have to stop killing our people. Because any number above zero is wrong, right? That should not happen, right? So that's how we got the bike test.
Wow.
Yeah. The bike test lasted long enough for us to realize that we needed to encourage people to be fit all the time. So that eventually happened. Yeah. So
did you all have bikes in your room, or was there like this? I'm a very practical, logistical person. Yeah. So how many bikes were available to you guys at any given time to go?
Well, the gym on most Air Force bases and military bases is open 24/7, and it's filled with all the exercise bikes and the every cardio thing you can imagine.
But how many bikes? Because hundreds of people running at the same
a spin class.
Okay.
I mean, but you were doing all of that on your own, right? That was all on your own time. You weren't doing that. You weren't riding a stationary bike as a group.
Yeah, but there were thousands of you on base probably. And, on any given lunch break, there were hundreds of you that probably wanted to ride your bike.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it was crowded in the gym. Yeah.
how dependent you were on a piece of machinery to pass your test. You couldn't just like do push-ups in your room. You had to get on this bike. Fascinating, interesting.
Yeah.
Never did that.
A regular bike worked too, though. It didn't have to be a stationary bike. So some people rode a bike on their own kind of thing. So they would do okay too. As long as you're doing a bike-like move. Wow, that's an awesome tangent. I love this show.
I think I need to invest in these bikes, man.
Yeah.
Versus
Right. Okay, so let's get into a little bit of like identity or like, because I think the way that you present, you and Tony both, the way you guys present yourself online all the time is very authentic to me. But I bet you weren't always like that. So talk a little bit about what that was like and when that happened and when you realized you wanted to be more authentic with yourself, with others, with Tony. And
thanks for asking that.
Okay. Yeah. I like that question because when I started doing it, it was amazing.
Yeah. Thanks for making me think about that because I love reflecting on those things and, you know, so I know when the shift for me occurred, but when I look at my entire life, I think about coming into this world. You're a kid, you're authentic when you're a child, right? My 3-year-old couldn't be more authentic.
That's true.
She is emotive. She says everything that's on her mind. Right. Sometimes it's embarrassing when we're in public, but mostly hilarious.
Thoroughly unfiltered.
Absolutely. Yes. So what happens? You start getting conditioned. You start changing. You want to start to be accepted.
School, right.
You know, being in a military family, we did move around a lot. And so I went from suburban Kansas City to a small town in Alabama during one of our moves. And that's where I started to get picked on and made fun of. And I got made fun of a little bit in Kansas City as well. I think I think sometimes what happens if you don't grow up in the town that you live in, you don't have all these established friendships before you go to school, you're automatically the odd man out. And kids don't know what to do with that sometimes.
You're the new kid.
I was the new kid. I was a new kid in Kansas when I got there. I was a new kid in Alabama when I got there. Alabama was a little bit more rough because it was a cultural shift as well, from the clothes I was wearing to the way that I sounded.
Right.
And you know, I was just the foreigner in the school. And so I started getting conditioned. I started getting made fun of. I started, figuring out how to react to those things in my environment because for some reason I had this instinctual wisdom that I knew that when those kids were making fun of me, it wasn't personal. I knew that somehow. I don't know if my parents told me that. I knew it. And because in large part, the things I was getting made fun of for in Alabama were actually cool in Kansas. So I connected those dots, you know.
Interesting. Wow.
And I said, okay, I just got cool in Kansas and now I'm doing the same thing over here and now I'm getting made fun of. So I knew it was groupthink. I knew it was cultural. I knew it didn't have to do with me.
That's awesome. Actually, that's a really beneficial thing that happened to you, really, when you think about it. If you would have stayed in one place, you would have thought you were cool the whole time.
I would have thought everybody else in the world was crazy. I love New Yorkers, and I've lived in New York for the last 10 years, and I have so many deep-rooted friendships there. I love the people, but it's always hilarious to me because New Yorkers sometimes are the most, I don't know if the word's prejudice, but like they always, you hear like, anything that's outside of New York, it's like, what do people even do there? Like,
I know that feeling. Yes.
You've never lived there. You've never even been there.
Right. And that happens a lot in the different neighborhoods in and around Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So I always sort of assumed anybody, because I grew up in a very small town in Michigan. So like same people from, birth all the way till I was 18 and joined the Air Force. And then I saw what the world was. Right.
Yeah.
So I always sort of assumed as a small town kid that all big city people are smarter and more worldly than me. And that is not true. That is not true. So the LA people, like, are you familiar with LA at all?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So like I spent all of my time like around South Bay in Torrance in the beach cities.
Yep.
Okay. because that was sort of close to the Air Force Base.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, after I retired, I went and did massage school up in the Valley, like around Studio City.
Okay.
And all those Valley people knew absolutely nothing about Torrance or the South Bay. They were like, that may as well be another planet. And that was surprising to me. They had never, ever, they didn't even know the 110 went that far south. It was like, what is that, like Pedro? And I'm like, kind of, not really, no. Yes, and no, yeah, right.
Yeah,
It was interesting waking up. Okay, so talk a little bit more about like how you like had that sort of like, okay, now this is what it's like being authentic with myself, right?
Yeah. So that those conditioning layers did start to happen because I was trying to figure out how what do I do? Do I be myself? Do I be what they want? And so it was a little bit of a tug of war because as a kid you do want to be accepted, but then you also want to be yourself, you know? Right. So it was a positive tension in my life. And you know, I think I made it all the way through high school being very authentic because I figured out how to get that polarity to work in my life.
You're kind of like you have this awareness that now I'm doing this to fit in, right?
Yeah,
a little bit, right? Like I'm giving them a little bit of what they need, right? But you have that awareness, right? That's huge.
Yeah, so I would say like I stayed true all the way through high school, and then I became lesser authentic when I got to college.
Okay.
And then when my dad passed away, that's when everything shifted me back.
So what was college like? You were just trying to fit in a lot more. That is a big shift. Yeah.
It was a big shift for a few years because in high school I was able to make myself cool. We'll talk about that one.
Yeah, I get it.
That's a great dance story. Like,
right.
You know, the people in my hometown were wonderful people. And yes, I got made fun of when I got there, but I figured out how to stay myself and make friends with everybody. By the end of my senior year, I was friends with everybody, but I was still me.
Right.
And then when I went to college, though, I was automatically accepted by like the best sorority or whatever it's all.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah, right.
Everybody's sorority is the best sorority to them. But perception-wise, it was like, that's the hard one to get into.
Okay.
And I went through Rush as a dare from my sister, because she's like, you got to just see what it's like, you know? And I was like, this is all, I stuck my nose at it. I'm like, I'm not a sorority girl. This is not me.
Right.
You know, I came in like looking very just different. I'm kind of like a hippie art, never wore makeup except for when I had to with performance. Like I was definitely not like looking at like a sorority girl. Okay. And so my sister was like, this will be fun. Like, just see what it's like on the inside. You know? Tell me the
like
secret.
You were going to be a spy. Right?
she wasn't in a sorority either. And I looked up to her so much. And so she was always daring me to do stuff like this. And so I'm like, all right, I'll go. And I went through Rush and I told the girls every time they'd try to sit me down and recruit me and give me that hard talk, I would tell them, I'm not pledging. I'm here to just see this charade. Like I'm not pledging.
Okay.
And so the final night, they gave me, her name's Gabrielle Ruiz. She's on the CW's Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Her character is Valencia. She was in the Heights on Broadway. She's an amazing performer, and a few other shows as well. If Then, and one with Ricky Martin. I'm forgetting it, but she's an amazing human.
Okay.
Well, she got me on the last night, and she went straight to my heart, and she related to me. She sat me down on a couch. She related to me. She went straight to my heart. She talked to me about how these relationships have helped her within the dance program and the alumni chapter in New York City. And so she made it like practical, smart, and she also like went to the jugular. So I was
emotional jugular.
Yes, I was completely blindsided my last night of Rush. I was like, what just happened? all of a sudden, did they just brainwash me? Is this what brainwashing is?
Right.
And I told my sister
That's a bigger conversation, the brainwashing.
Yeah. And so I told my sister that I pledged, and she's like, so then she always teases. Well, she loves God. She had a chance to meet Gabrielle, and she loves her. And Gabrielle really is amazing. My sorority sisters, I had many amazing. I'm not dogging the sorority. There was a great group of girls to be associated with.
So it's not all bad, is what you're saying.
No, but
but you learned that. That's good.
Yeah, my sister still jokes. She's like, "How's your $500 friend Gabi doing?" But it wasn't. I want to be clear. It wasn't the sorority's fault. It was that I was automatically accepted with the cool crowd, and I started. I didn't drink right away, and
you didn't drink right away. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's a nice thing to say.
No, it became like a mission for some of the athletes and my sorority sisters to get me to drink. And the night that I drank was like a big event for everybody, which was just crazy looking back on it. But anyways, that kind of started me on the journey of now really liking the association, liking the approval, liking the likes on Facebook, liking all of that. And I just got wrapped up in it until my first semester of senior year when my father passed away.
Wow. Okay. So you kind of did spiral into the rabbit hole of, I don't know. What do you call that?
Living on the surface,
Right. Okay. Yeah, sure.
Just living for the likes,
living for the
weekend, the like, the approval, the things that don't go deep,
Right. Wow. Okay. But then you had the big wake up call.
Yeah. Right. So my first semester senior year, I get a call that my dad had cancer, and a year before he had a stroke, but he was doing better. But then we get the call, he has cancer. He probably only has a few weeks to live. Wow. And I'll never forget where I was standing. I'll never forget the faces of the people that I was looking at, and they were looking at me as I was falling apart in the lobby of my dance building. And the dean of my school was gracious. They refunded me my tuition that semester, told me just go home. And
that's amazing. That is a gift.
That was
a gift.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
I want to if I mean, that's not something that most people want to ask for, but one of the things that I would love to do is be there, right? When one or the other or both parents, I want to be there for the whole dying event, beginning and soup to nuts. Because I know it's sad and you're going to deal with the grief, right? But I heard you say on another show that it's also simultaneously beautiful. Right? It is, right? I know. And I don't want to be morbid, but we have this weird relationship as humans with the fact that we're going to die. we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to know about it. We just want to basically just pretend it's not true until we have to face it. And you, unfortunately or fortunately, had an opportunity and or curse, blessing, whatever you want to say, to have to live through it pretty young. It's hard and a gift. It's a hard gift, right? Talk a little bit about what was beautiful about it. Just the fact that you got to be there and feel those feels. Sorry that happened to you, but talk about the beautiful part, because that's what most people miss, I think.
It was so beautiful. And that's a unique perspective to have. Yeah. I think for our listeners to hear you say that, that's probably getting them to think a lot right now.
Right. Right.
Because again,
it's just giving them the dog tilt head.
you just challenged a track that a thought track that they've had, and might be creating a shift in it. But it is beautiful. Unfortunately, I lost one of my close friends when I was 15 years old in a car accident, and that happened just like that. There There was no goodbyes. There was no let's talk about the meaning of life. There was no gratitude exchanges. It was just, she's here, she's gone, and
like ripped. It's a
yes, and that grief
torn.
process,
Ouch.
yanked. That grief process was entirely different because
that's trauma. So it's PTSD plus grief. That's what that is. That's like getting hit by a truck, and then you wake up and your friend's dead. That's
the denial, disbelief, moving into, okay, it's for real, moving into the falling apart moments. But none of the exchanges that I got to have with my father took place with my friend Amanda.
Right.
So getting to come home and be with him, it was a gift. And I'm so thankful to my alma mater, Oklahoma City University, the dean, for graciously granting me that. And I would have gone home anyways, but very nice that they refunded the money for that semester. And, it was just my family and me at home with my dad. Hospice had brought him to our living room and got set up comfortably. And we had an amazing community in Gunnersville, Alabama, where I grew up, and that surrounded our family during that time. And my father was a leader in the Army. So there were people flying in from all the places that, he had worked or visited. And so we were surrounded by angels truly on earth. And, but those moments with my dad, when you get to sit bedside with somebody who sees the light at the end of the tunnel.
Right. They almost are in contact with the other side at that moment. They're sort of like half here, half there. Right. Right. Yes.
Truly, he refused
on both sides.
Yeah. He refused morphine, which was crazy.
Brave.
He was in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to hallucinate. So what you just said, being in touch with the other side, he truly was.
I know.
You can't say he was hallucinating.
No, because he wasn't on drugs.
On the morphine. He wasn't on drugs.
Right.
And he saw things. He saw people in the room. He said, your grandfather's here playing his guitar, and you're like, whoa, this is, and then that last moment, which I know nobody wants to think about, but the moment when he actually passed, if you haven't been with somebody when they died, it's, there's a gasp of breath typically that occurs in the body.
Right.
He hadn't been able to sit up. He sat straight up in bed like a stiff board, had this gasp. His eyes were wide open, and he had the most beautiful blue eyes. They were just so wide open. And it was like, you saw that he saw, and it was so peaceful. And you just saw this like, whoa, he just passed through. He just shifted. And after it was crazy. It was so supernatural. And as soon as he passed, everybody went to the body. And I felt no need to go to his body. Right. I went out of respect and out of almost like, this is what everybody in the room is doing.
Right. You have to honor the social convention. Yes.
Yeah. But I knew he's not in that body anymore.
Right.
And I felt
he left.
I felt a presence around us. It could have been him. It could have been God. But I just knew like, Dad's not in that body anymore. And I know exactly where he went. And that piece is, was everything.
Amazing. For you to be able to just be there and attend that and experience that. I read this whole book about this lady that was going around. Her book was sort of like a little bit of both. It was all the events around death. And now I'm going to have to go figure out what the name of the book and the author, but I'll do that in the show notes later.
Oh, she was a hospice care worker, right?
Maybe it's possible.
Okay. There's Bronnie Ware, she was a hospice care worker.
What was the name of the book?
I don't know. It was about the 10 regrets of people dying.
No, this is more about NDEs and that sort of thing. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. Which... but I mean, not everybody has an NDE. A lot of people die too. And she talked to, it was stories from people that it had your experience. Like the whole thing about like what more about how they change in the process of dying, and sort of like how you can tell they're like conversing with this side and our side at the same time. And most people just sort of like call that babble, and, you know, sort of like, well, their brain is addled right now because they're like on morphine, right? But in truth, well, my personal truth is that they've sort of got a foot on each side. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So wow, that was a gift again that you got to live through that. Hard though. Yeah. I mean, the grief, you still have to grieve. I think it probably takes a lot of sting out of a lot of the grief and loss, just knowing that he's over there at peace.
Yeah,
Right.
it really does. And, you know, I'm sorry for what happened, I guess, but at the same time, I'm so grateful that I had a great father for 21 years of my life. And I don't know if I would be who I am today if I didn't go through that experience. You know, that piece of me died, and it was one of those ego pieces. It brought me back to my authentic self, and it took me deeper, actually. So, you know, but I love to have my father here today, 1000%, absolutely.
Right.
But I'm so thankful for the gift that he gave me.
Right.
In the process.
So let's talk a little bit about how the grief and the loss sort of like strip away the bullshit. That's the best way I can say it, right? Yeah. It's almost like, I'm going to try to make a weird comparison, but have you ever hung out with anybody that's been in recovery? Mm-hmm. And they kind of like, they're just out and all of their filters have been unplugged, and they just talk to everybody about everything with unfiltered. It's like they're suddenly a grown-up 3-year-old. Right? They kind of have to dial it back, right? But you get that, right? The grief loss transition thing has a sort of similar effect to people, I think. It's like all the BS is like, you can see it now. It's like you've been given glasses and you can see through the BS of the Matrix almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a zero bullshit tolerance. I really do.
Right.
And my husband does too. So there's two of us, you know.
Right. So you guys are constantly calling yourself on your own crap, right? So that's
absolutely
perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
See, that's one definition of coaching, right? Like that you pay a coach to tell you what you don't want to hear from other people.
Yep. Yep. That's why it's like, worked well in our careers.
Right. I'm going to give you all this money so you can tell me what I don't want to hear about me.
Yeah. Much.
Yeah. So let's talk about you and you. Well, actually, before we get into faith and maybe more about Tony's journey with cancer, because that's got to be crazy. Let's go back and lighten it up a little bit, maybe, if we can. So talk a little bit about when your daughter interrupted the podcast. Yeah. Let's lighten it up a little.
Okay. Yeah. So this just happened the other day, and you know, I had this podcast scheduled, and it was Tony and I were supposed to be, both of us were supposed to be present on it. And if I have a commitment, I honor a commitment, no matter what's going on in life, as so long as I can honor it. Right. So he got called in for a last minute PET scan. They wanted to see how he was receiving the treatment. So they were like, last minute PET scan, need to be there at 7:00 in the morning, whatever. So he was not able to be on the podcast, understandably.
Right.
And it was just me and my 3.5-year-old. We were staying with friends because we didn't have our rental house until June 1st.
Wow. So we were just moved in. Okay.
Just moved in.
Gotcha.
Arizonians, at least for the time being.
Right.
We were staying with two wonderful friends of ours, just been angels to us. But the husband, his name is Jeff, he just had foot surgery. And not like rinky-dink foot surgery, like reconstructive, like you can't touch his foot, or you'd send him back to the hospital. He has to be on his back for 80% of the day.
Wow.
With his foot in the air. I mean, has a little scooter, but That's about it. Can't like, in other
Basically,
words,
bathroom, and that's it.
yes. So it was pretty sweet to see my husband and Jeff have some bonding time on the couch for a few weeks together. And
Yes.
me and my friend Kim, we had our 2 girls that we would run around and play with, take care of our husbands. But this particular morning, Kim was working, Jeff was on the couch, my husband Tony was at his PET scan, and Emerson, my daughter, my 3.5-year-old, was still asleep at 9 o'clock in the morning. And so I'm like, oh, and that's when the podcast was scheduled. So I'm like, right, I think I can get through this. And I did give her a little bit of melatonin the night before, hoping that it would push her over the 10 a.m. mark.
Perfect.
So I'm thinking, yeah, she can be a pretty heavy sleeper, especially I don't give her melatonin often. When I give her melatonin, it does knock her out, pretty hard.
Yes.
I'm thinking she's going to sleep through this. I got this. So I set myself up in one of the guest bedrooms. I'm in a little corner, trying to be a little quiet. And I told the host beforehand, hey, here's the context of the situation. Fortunately, he was wonderful and understanding. But about 9:30, and if any of you hear the podcast, it's Joe Warren's Your First 100K podcast. About halfway through, you hear a door open and you hear, Mommy. You won't hear anything after that because Joe paused it and we were able to put it together. But
okay.
So nice. I paused and I'm looking over my laptop at this like crazy haired, grumpy, groggy 3-year-old who's like, I still have melatonin in me. I'm tired, but what are you doing? Where am I right now? I could just tell like she is not going to be easy to get her.
This is not going to be 5 minutes.
This is not going to be a simple task.
Right.
So I look at her and I'm like, okay, all right, I'll be right back, Joe. So I take her and I try to get her a few snacks and put her in the corner of the room and say, Emmy, I just have a meeting, 20 minutes. Can you give me 20 minutes? And so stopped. She was not having it, started crying. So I'm like, all right. I take her downstairs. Jeff's on the couch. He's like, how can I help you? Is there anything I can do?
Yeah.
And again, 3.5-year-old with a man who's had foot surgery and you can't touch his, not a good combination.
You're feeling like a bad mommy now.
A bad friend.
Yes.
You just had foot surgery and you're being protective so nobody touches your foot. Here, take a 3.5-year-old who just woke up. So,
Jeff's a trooper.
Man. So I open their freezer and I see this giant tub of cookies and cream Bluebell ice cream.
Oh,
and
baby.
We've been on a
baby crack.
Yeah. We've been very healthy this past year, especially recently. I've got her like drinking like green smoothies now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'm like, I'm taking that ice cream. So I give her that ice cream. I sit her on the couch next to Jeff. I put on Frozen or some movie and I'm like, okay, just give me 20 minutes. And there she is. I'm going up the stairs back to the guest bedroom and I see Jeff laying there, foot up in the air. And I see my 3.5-year-old with her nightgown all, frazzled, her hair all frazzled. The tub of Bluebell ice cream is like as big as her like ab, like her torso. Like
wow.
And I don't even put it in a bowl, and I just gave her.
Wow. And she's got a shovel, and she's maybe hitting her mouth, maybe not.
Totally out of character for me, but it just, I think you need to hear that stuff because life is. It throws you curveballs and it's not always going to be the perfect response or solution. Right. You got to roll with it and you got to have some grace. And it's not like I give my kid ice cream every morning. Come on. So
there you go. You should save it for just that opportunity, right? Just in case. In case. That's awesome. Thanks for that.
It's so great. So if any of you hear that podcast, you'll hear that moment and you'll now know behind the scenes and what Emerson was doing while I finished it out. So
right. So let's talk a little bit about, did you grow up in the church? Talk a little bit about your faith.
Yes. Thank you. My faith's at a whole different level right now.
Right.
Did I grow up in the church? Yes.
Right.
Is my mom a fierce, like dragon slaying prayer woman, a pioneer woman kind of lady. Absolutely. My mom lost 2 husbands to cancer. She is,
wow.
and she has faith beyond reason. She's incredible. So I grew up with her covering. I grew up with not really going on my own journey because I always felt like I had my mom to protect me. I wore my mom's faith like a warm blanket during all of life's hard times.
Wow.
Losing my friend Amanda, anything that I went through, and then losing my dad. I went through my own journey and storm, but it was in the shelter of my mom's covering. Okay. So truthfully, I never really studied the Bible hard. Okay. I never really gave, I just said, I have this feeling, I have this connection with the Holy Spirit. I feel it. So I'm a believer. I'm good. But I didn't have any tools in my belt. I didn't have God's word to explain my faith really. Like I didn't have that arsenal. I wasn't building that inside of me. And so there was a lot that I intellectually didn't understand, didn't know, didn't have words for. I just was.
You were just going it all by gut. Right?
Yeah.
You were just gutting it out. You were gutting out faith. That's amazing. Yeah. I've never heard anyone say that before. That's awesome.
And I had experiences to lean on, and people would say, why are you a Christian? Well, because this happened to me when I was 15 and I couldn't explain it. And this happened when my dad died and there was nothing but God, to point to. So I know God's real. I went through in college, I took a world religions class. So I started to kind of question Jesus.
Yep. Sure.
And whether or not he was the way to God.
Sure.
And I was torn up at the fact that there's all people,
these other religions, right?
Yeah. And they're good people and they have great principles. And so how can he be the only way?
Right.
And I thought, well, maybe he was just this like, and I'm being, nobody's ever heard me say this publicly. Like this is being brutally honest. Like I've had all these thoughts, like maybe he was just this charismatic man who yes, did some amazing things and word got out and spread all over the world. Sure. But maybe there were other charismatic, wonderful men. And maybe he was just, sort of like a prophet or a disciple, but he can't be the only way, until recently in the past. And this journey that I've been on for the last year has completely transformed me and built my faith at a different level. And I'm blindsided. I look back at what I thought I knew or whatever, and I had no idea. I now, like there's no question without a shadow of a doubt for me and my faith that he is the only way. And I've had so many things happen that if I couldn't explain, you couldn't, science can't explain it. It's undoubtedly God working in our lives and giving us signs, giving us words. I'll have a word
experiences. Yes.
Right. I had a word come to me the other night in prayer, and a friend, there's a Facebook page that some people are posting like their prayers and things for us during the season. And it's actually not that busy. And so when I go on there, I'll see whoever posted for the day. And a friend of mine, Sarah, had posted the same exact word that I received at the same time that I received it. Sure. So when I was praying and I heard the word come to me, and sometimes you question, like, was that my imagination or was that God?
You should question that.
Yeah.
You should.
Well, I've learned that, like, if
you'll know.
ask God to sanctify my imagination and I turn it over to him, then what at that time, what does come through is him, because I've given him the authority to do that.
So you learned something. Yes.
I'm learning so much.
Yeah.
So much.
Well, there's a spiritual, even outside of the Christian belief system, there's this, it's one of my pillars of belief is free will is absolute. God made it that way. Your personal human free will, he can't violate. So that's one of those, you believe that, right? I don't think that's in the Bible, but I believe that through experience. Now, I read it too. So, but I put my own paraphrase and spin on it. But yeah. So that's fun that you came to that conclusion. for an experience, a personal experience.
Yes.
Not reading a book or praying, but experiencing God, which I think is pretty rare these days.
I think so too.
Yeah.
My eyes are now open. It's like I have one foot in the world and one foot in the spiritual realm. I see both sides now, and I, it's so clear, it's so present, and for me it's unique. Well, for me it's, I've always been a do-it-yourselfer, I think, like my whole life, whether it's spirituality or it's business, it's like, I'd rather just do it myself. I don't need to ask God for this. I don't need to ask other people for this. Let me just do it myself. So I've DIY'd my faith journey. I've DIY'd everything.
Yeah, me too.
I've just leaned on my own understanding and
you do need help though. You probably figured that out.
Well, this particular scenario. So for those of you that are listening, just to give you some context, my husband's journey, it's going to be one of the most powerful cancer testimonies that's out there. I mean, it's just, it's about defying statistics, defying the odds, defying I brought together the best doctors in the nation for his cancer, for non-melanoma, including the doctor who cured Lance Armstrong, Dr. Lawrence Einhorn. I brought them together. I paid them to debate.
Wow. You are leaving no stone unturned. So if things go south again, call me back. I have other ideas, but keep going. Sorry.
So I went on this journey where I was like, and here, talk about like a chain of events. Years ago, when I first started speaking and doing things, publicly, one of the things that I used to always say when I would talk about the journey that I was on is that God forbid any one of my family members ever got sick again, I was going to do whatever I had to do to put myself in a financial position to get the best doctor in the room. Right. Because I experienced some of that with my dad. There were some malpractice things that occurred with my dad. Okay. And so that'll
piss you off. Yes.
Yes. And that's what's
that's the righteous anger. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
That's what got me motivated financially. I was never motivated financially before then. I was an artist. Remember, we can starve and we're good. Yeah. That's me on this. No, I'm building resources. I'm building because that catapulted me there. So now here I am. I'm vetting the world's top doctors for my husband's particular situation. Mm-hmm. And I'm paying them to debate. You have to pay them thousands of dollars just for their opinions, some of them. And so that we could choose who we felt was the best doctor for his case at this point. Yeah. So that'll give you, without me giving you all the details, without having to tell you their bedside manner and the things they said to me about being a mom of a 3.5-year-old. I don't need to get into those details. Use your imagination. You can guess what they said. It sent me on this, it catapulted me into this faith journey where my capacity was no longer enough. Do it yourself was not going to work.
Right.
I couldn't do this myself.
No. You can't cure cancer with thoughts and prayers. No. You need doctors and money. And
I couldn't even, I have a high capacity. I have a high tolerance. I'm able to, that's one of the things a good friend of mine, Danica, says about me is she's like, you have stamina. She always reminds me, you have this stamina.
Right.
Yes. It's a simple thing, but she'll remind me sometimes like you've got the stamina for this. But for this particular season at this particular time, that's very sensitive. I don't. And so the only thing that's carrying me right now is the Holy Spirit. Okay. And wow. I would, to go from being a lukewarm Christian in a sense of, I believe in God and Jesus and I believe in love and whatever. Right. Now I'm like, he is showing me, getting me through things. I'm just putting my body in places and he's taking the reins. And, here's something crazy that happened the other day. I know this might be a super long tangent for you, but
That's
this
okay.
is
Super
I have
Long
to,
Tangents is the other name of this show, so you're good.
we just titled this one "Super Long Tangent" by Francis Pappalardo. So you believe in signs, Jeff?
I do.
Jeff?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Synchronicities.
yes. So I've had a lot. I've had a lot from my 3.5-year-old having dreams, which is crazy to me that she can have prophetic dreams and tell me about them in the most timely moments, to people having confirmations in other parts of the nation or the world to confirm something I'm experiencing or something that's happening the next day or whatever. I mean, just lots of things have happened. But when you start fighting in the spiritual realm, through prayer, things do start happening in your life in terms of not only is God fighting on your behalf or working on your behalf, because now when you pray certain prayers and things, you give him full authority to fight on your behalf. Like you said before, Jeff, he's not going to fight on your behalf if you don't ask him.
Right.
I thought he just did. Like, I was like, I'm good. Like,
it's like faith on autopilot. Doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
No.
My mom made me feel so safe growing up. I was like,
I think as children we get some pass points. Like,
yes.
Occasionally you'll get a guardian angel pulling you off the ledge, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But once you sort of graduate into adulthood, the training wheels are off, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the key word, occasionally, because I thought it was all the time. Like,
right.
I pretty much thought that Michael
I can just Magoo myself through this world. Yes.
Yeah. I probably got Michael and Gabriel and, all these.
They're all here. They're my guys.
They hang with me.
That's right.
I didn't realize they weren't what's the word, omnipresent or omniscient.
One of those. Not always around.
Always, they come and go. You have to ask for them.
Right. Correct.
So anyway, since we've opened up the authority of God to work into our life and fight on our behalf, things happen in the physical that you're like, whoa, what is that? And that's from the demonic realm, that's from spiritual realm. And so the devil, this is going to be crazy for my audience because they're not used to hearing me talking like this. The devil has been he tries to mess with you, and whatever God increases in your life, the devil also increases. Now, the devil's amateur, so he's not going to get very far, but he's going to try to mess with your head. He's going to try to manipulate. He can't get inside of you, but he can manipulate things around you to try to screw with your thoughts.
The temptations, yes. Right.
Yeah. So
Jesus
so the other
in the desert, yes.
Yeah.
40
so
days
the
and
other
40 nights. Yikes.
Okay. We're in the freaking desert. Like, people. We like to be near the ocean. We were getting ready to move from New York to Florida or somewhere by the beach. And
you're going to do more than 40 days. Sorry.
And here we are in the freaking desert. And God, and so it's fascinating. We're in the desert. And for my husband in particular, all of his things that he would naturally go to for comfort, like let's say bad food or surfing or, even watching movies, because now those are taken away, because how many movies can you watch when you're on bed rest basically for months, So everything's been stripped away from us for creature comforts other than, God, that it's wild. And we're in the freaking desert, which is how symbolic can you be? So I opened my door, my front door the other day. Okay. And this is just one of many signs, but I opened my front door and I have some packages. Now the UPS man had just walked up, dropped the packages effortlessly and walked back to his truck. Now I opened the door, not thinking anything, pick up all the packages. There were probably 4 or 5. The last package that I pick up, there's a king snake, a California king snake. It's about 4 feet long, very like I would say maybe 3 inches in diameter. I mean, he was huge behind this package. Now, if you don't know what a California king snake looks like, it's a black snake with yellow bands. It is scary looking. He is scary looking. But I caught my breath a little bit, took my breath away.
Yeah.
I hate snakes.
Yes.
And he just peacefully slithered away. As I picked up, I had the package in my arms.
You've had your freak out moment.
Internally. But like it took my breath away, but I also just had this wonder, this awe as he slithered away. And I was like, that's captivating. He looks really mean, but he also looks beautiful. So now I'm like, what was that? Okay, so I text my landlord and I'm like, hey, I just saw this 4-foot snake. How often do you see snakes in your yard? And what do I need to know about your wildlife? And she goes, that's crazy. She said she's only seen 3 snakes in 30 years of living here. And never a California king. So I Googled the snake because I don't know that it's a California king snake.
Right. Yes.
That thing definitely looked like it could kill me. So I Google it and
wow.
And I'm trying to find the markings because it wasn't a garden snake that has the yellow stripe down the back. It was yellow bands. Well, when you look up, when I figured out what it was and I looked it up, a California king snake signals protection. So it kills the bad snakes. It kills rattlesnakes.
Oh, wow.
So if you talk to an Arizonian and you're like, hey, so there's a 4-foot California king snake right at my front door, they'll be like, that's the snake you want. Be nice to those snakes. So
that's amazing.
So here it was. And this is now me seeing through a spiritual lens. The devil might have been sending me something to freak me out because Francis before didn't have the wisdom and the discernment to see things this way. And I would have just said, oh, I saw a scary snake.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Nobody go outside for a week. Right. He knows
to move.
He knows I hate snakes. And so he's trying to figure out how to paralyze us through our fears. But wisdom and discernment tells me that snake equals protection. And so there he is. Look at that amateur trying to send me a snake to freak me out. But it was a freaking snake of protection.
That's amazing.
All the tricks that he tries to play, he's not going to win.
Right.
He can only get so far. So, everything from that to my daughter having dreams where she's randomly like, Jesus took me to the playground and he told me that he got rid of all the monsters. I'm like, I have that on video. She's like, yeah, Jesus said all the monsters have gone away. And he said, do not be afraid, Emmy. That's just the planets and the stars. This is hilarious. She goes, it's just the planets and the stars. And then she pauses and she goes, and the aliens? And I'm like, has she ever heard the word aliens? I've never said the word alien. She doesn't. She goes, but no more monsters, Emmy. No more monsters. She prayed that. She had that dream the night after I had some serious prayer things going on where I was casting things out and binding out spirits and all that stuff. So anyways,
wow.
Your listeners are going crazy right now. What's happening? But,
no. This audience is very woo-woo friendly, so don't worry. Very faith-based, yes.
Good. Yeah, because it was just I have so
I'm right there with you. Yes.
I have a whole journal right now of these things that have been happening.
See, so you're in it. You are so in it right now. You are I remember this movie with Jeff Bridges. He was this aging country star, and he was sort of going from gig to gig and kind of on the back end of his career. And he was calling from a phone booth in the middle of the desert. It was 115 degrees. And he was like, I'm out in it. On the phone with his girlfriend. Yeah, that's where you're at. You're out in it. Spiritually, physically, and metaphorically in the spiritual sense, you're in it. I'm kind of out of it. I went through my stuff and now I'm on the backside, the back nine of the spiritual journey, which is amazing in and of itself, but completely different from where you're at. But I've been where you're at. Not as scary, not as dramatic, but I've been where you're at, where I've been through all of those, seeing the signs and the synchronicities and reading the books and all the books and questioning everything and coming to new conclusions. And I landed on, have you ever heard of the Course in Miracles or A Course in Miracles?
Like a course, like a college?
It's a name of a book.
Okay. No, I haven't
A
heard
Course
of it.
in Miracles. Anyway, it's one of my favorites. Okay, if you want to ever you stick your head in a spiritual bucket.
It's in it. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
The more buckets, the better. Let's go.
One of the favorite things that came out of that was you don't know what to do. You don't have to know what to do or say for a miracle to happen through you. You just have to show up and believe it can happen. Right? So for whatever reason, I thought that was appropriate for you now. Because it seems
so
like
appropriate. So appropriate. You know why?
no, but I think you do.
Oh man, it's so appropriate because I'm a DIYer. I'm a do-it-yourself. I'm a God. Give me the course. Give me the roadmap. I will go. I'll pray all the deliverance prayers. I'll cast out all the demons. I'll do whatever I have to do. God, like give me. I'm a worker, so I'm asking him for instruction, and I've been doing it and doing it and doing it. And you know what? The other night, I cried out to him. And I put my daughter to sleep and she was passed out. And so I cried out to him by her bedside as I was praying. And I was just saying, hey, let me intercede more. Give me more to do. Show me more things I can do. In other words, like I'll pray whatever prayers I have to pray. I'll do whatever. I'll fast. I'll sacrifice. I'll do whatever I have to do. Let me intercede more. And I heard his voice and he said, and you're hearing
that's awesome.
It was a UPS man who effortlessly walked by the snake the other day and didn't see it. But I heard his voice and he said, my child, rest, my child, rest, my child.
Yes.
And that's what I told you when my friend on the Facebook group, because I checked it later and it said 19 minutes ago, Sarah posted, I forget exactly how she phrased it, but it was very similar. It was rest my child. And she said, I heard this when I was praying and I felt it was a word for Tony and Francis. And, and I texted her and I said, you have no idea. And that was confirmation. You heard it or you posted it when I heard it.
Yeah.
And so for me, what that means, and since I accepted those words, I took a little bit of a break from.
You do need to take a break. Yeah.
From the reading and the trying and the striving. And I said, okay, God, I'm going to rest, which is not
not easy.
Natural.
It's not easy to do. No.
Natural for me.
But science can help you here. Science can help you here because do you have any relatives that like when they get stressed, they like cook like a crazy person or maybe they vacuum the house when it doesn't need to be, right? Sometimes you just need that. You need a distraction, right?
Yeah.
I totally get that. Always when you're where you're at, the number one thing is take it easy on you. Right? Give yourself a break as much as possible. Trust me, you're going to have a lot of shit to do. Sometimes you need to rest up and recharge those batteries. I know it's insane, but it's true.
It's true. And that's why what you just said, because I accepted the words, I fell asleep so peacefully that night. I wore the Holy Spirit like a warm blanket and I've been resting. That was just 2 days ago. And then yesterday I was like, all right, I got to do some stuff around the house, like unnecessary things that I didn't have to do. Unpack us more. I just need to unpack us more or whatever.
You needed some distraction and activity. Yes. Yes.
And I dropped a big box on my toe and I was freaking hurt. And I'm on the couch and I'm like, I have an ice pack on. And then I hear the words, rest my child again in my head. And I was like, oh, you got me. Sometimes you have to,
that's how it goes.
Have to happen, but
that's how it goes.
But you just saying that just now, you just said to me, sometimes all you need to do for a miracle is just to show up and believe it.
You don't have to know what to do or say, right? So that happened to me while I was still active duty Air Force guy, and I was like going through some very stressful shit in the office, right? And people would be walking up to me and asking me questions that I have no idea what the answer is every day. And I tried that, right? I just tried that. I just got quiet, right? And in that moment, I just decided, oh, right, that's right. I don't have to know what to say. I don't have to know what to do. I just sat there and I didn't say anything. I just looked at the guy talking to me.
Mm.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah. And he walked away. I went, that works.
Wow.
Yeah. Sometimes silence is the best answer.
Mm.
And
Yeah, I think the only thing you do have to do is you do have to give authority over. You do have to, what we talked about before, like he's not going to interfere.
I think, it's also like faith that the words will come.
Yeah.
Faith that you'll know what to do. But you don't have to know the answer before you get to the moment. You just have to be in the moment. And if you don't know the answer, ask.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that? I just did that the other day. I was like trying to fall asleep at like 4 o'clock in the morning for another hour before I get up for work. And I was having this really stupid conversation with myself about why I can never remember how long I've been married. So I decided to ask. I was like, why can't I remember how long I've been married? And I'm always embarrassed. And I went through this whole long thing about teaching myself this shortcut. Take the current year, right? It's 2021 and add 7. If you always add 7 to the current year, you'll always be right. But it took me a half an hour in my head talking to myself, right? There was this guy asking questions and another guy with the answers. Right?
Yeah.
It's like you have two
You
brains.
just have to ask. You have
just
to
have to ask. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so, and just show up and just ask and let him work through you. Let him give you the answers.
So, Francis, I just called you Tony. That's awesome. So, Francis, as we wrap up, let's get this story of the 5th grade dance.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because we said we would, and then we can wrap up.
We would. We're going to honor. Yeah.
Yes.
Honor this commitment here. So 5th grade dance, I was asked to the 5th grade dance. This was during that journey of getting made fun of. I had just moved to Alabama.
Okay.
I had a crush on this boy. I told my mom about it. Thought he was really cute. My mom worked at the church with his mom. She told his mom. His mom made him ask me, which is a great way to start out,
Yeah. Ouch.
So he took me to the dance, and the whole time he didn't want to take me, right? He was a cool kid.
Right.
And so he just avoided me the entire dance. And anytime I would walk up to him, him and his friends would giggle, and so it was until
that
finally
school kind of thing. So did you know like right away that the joke was on you? Like
I did. Yeah. And it stung pretty hard. But again, I somehow knew like, it's not me. It's the fact that I'm new here, you know, it's more than
personal.
Somehow I knew that. It didn't change how much it hurt. It didn't change that,
right.
Whatever. But I just somehow knew it was like, all right, it almost became a challenge. Like, I'm going to make these people like me. And by my senior year, that kid asked me out on a date, and it felt really good to say no.
That's awesome.
Although we became friends and we were friends at the time, I was like, I'm definitely not saying yes to you.
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
Screwed that up. Some bridges you can't rebuild. Sorry.
Yeah, but you know what? That was all character building for me. I'm thankful. I'm so thankful that was part of my journey. It got me to not live in a box. It got me to be friends with everyone and to avoid those traps of thinking the same way.
No, totally.
Thinking, yeah.
I went through something like that. I don't know if it was 5th grade, but it was pre-middle school. So somewhere between K and 5. I don't know specifically, but I got invited to a cool kid's birthday party with his other cool kid friends. It was a sleepover. And I was the butt of the joke. So then we played games, and it was like the punishment for getting it wrong was drinking water. And I was getting it wrong a lot, and they wouldn't let me go to the bathroom. That's sort of like the elementary school boy kind of trap. Mm-hmm. They wanted somebody to laugh at. Yeah. So when I threatened to pee on the floor in the living room, they let me go.
Good for you that you stood up.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm thinking, what would I guess I would have just held it painfully, but you
I
actually
wasn't
told
having it.
Really? You're going to do this to me? I'm going to pee on your floor.
Exactly.
In fact, I'm going to pee on the carpet.
Yes.
You're going to have to clean it up.
Yeah.
Better
explain that to your mother. And they're like,
for you.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I got to the point of whipping it out, and they're like, okay, go.
Oh my God. You were like, hey, jokers, go ahead, fall asleep.
Right. Exactly. Oh, no. It wasn't time to go to bed yet. But it kind of put a damper on the evening. Anyway. There were many laughs after that.
They're like, yeah, we're not messing with Jeff again.
Right. That was probably one of the very few things that I remember from elementary school, story-wise anyway.
Oh, okay. Man.
Yeah, I mean, it scars you, right? A little bit of your, oh, they were. Now I come up with this phrase whenever I see bad behavior in humans. I just, it's snarky and true at the same time. I like that. It's like, humans are awesome, right? Because they are both ways. They're both ways. They're awesome. So whenever they do something really horribly shitty, humans are awesome.
I love that. That's good.
Thank you.
I'm gonna hear your voice now.
Humans are awesome.
There's Jeff.
There's Jeff. All right. So talk a little bit about how folks can reach out and touch Tony and Francis Pappalardo. I know you're at customizeyour.life.
Yep.
Okay. And you're on the socials and everybody else.
Yeah, I think, I think the easiest way, if anybody wants to get in touch, is just find us on Instagram, Francis Pappalardo _ and Tony Pappalardo _
Okay.
And then from there, you have our link tree. It's in our bio. And then you can see recent podcasts. You can see our website.
The green smoothies. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the baby pics. I did a little cyber stalking. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think that's the easiest way to get in touch, be happy to connect with anybody who wants to connect with us.
Francis, this has been pretty cool. Probably top 5.
Oh.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Amazingly open. So everybody listening to this show, if you want to be in this show, be like Francis. Anyway, yeah. Wide open, torn open. And it may be good, maybe bad. All right. So let's wrap it up and say goodbye, and then we'll chat a little bit and have a nice day.
Okay.
All right. Talk to you later. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thanks for taking the time to ride along with us on another episode of Vroom Vroom Veer. For podcast info and show notes, be sure to head over to vvveer.com. That's VVER.com. Man, that's fun to say. And we'll catch up with you next time here on Vroom Vroom Veer.